Hi, guys. So I am just inviting my guests up. Hi,
Hi.
Anya. I think there she is. Oh, wait. Hi, Rachel. I'm coming to get you 1 second. Oh. Okay. Rachel, am I inviting you or Birth Queen? Okay. There we go. Rachel. Oh, Birth Queen is unable to join, so I'm inviting Rachel.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. I'm
There
Rachel.
she is. Hi. I'm gonna erase it. There you are. Hi.
Hi.
Yay. Okay. How are you?
I'm good.
Okay, let me see if
Someone's like, you have something to
what'd you
do?
say?
He's like, sleep. Why would I do that?
Right.
When you have something to do.
Right.
But we're doing a poppet.
What? Oh, yes. Those things are called poppets.
Yes, but he like really enjoys it. So, and we're learning numbers and letters. So I'm here for it.
Yes, I know.
Hi,
That's
Erica.
right. I'm trying to find Angela. Angela, if you're here, say something, lady, so I can pull you up. Let's see.
I saw her name pop
You
up
did?
Oh, there it goes.
that I'm on.
Okay, let me see. There she is.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I'm so excited.
There it goes.
Okay.
Yes. Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
This is so exciting. Okay, y'all. So let's get to it. I have Angela J. Brown. I'm going to read these bios real quick so everybody knows who we're talking to. And here's my little one.
That
Say
voice.
hi.
So
cute. Okay. So Angela is a licensed registered nurse, a hypnobabies doula, a hypnobabies childbirth educator, pregnancy life coach, author, and speaker. She has been a birth doula for 20 years, and she founded her business, DoulaLove'sCreation, in 2005. As a birth advocate, her purpose and intention is to support pregnant women, partners, and families with empowered childbirth education so that no matter where they birth, they have confidence in themselves, their voices are heard, and their needs are honored and respected. Oh, sorry, baby. I know, baby. You want to go back and watch? Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to be loud, okay? You can't be quiet. We also have Miss Rachel Nicks. Rachel was born and raised in Oakland, California.
Yay.
Rachel is yes. She's.
Do I have another Oakland person on this call?
My husband is from Oakland. I birthed my first daughter in Oakland.
Okay.
Wow.
Love to hear it.
Rachel is a mom to 2 beautiful sons and resides in New York City. She is an actor and graduate of the Juilliard School. Oh, say excuse me. Brooklyn, you gotta go put some pants on though, okay? Because they can see you. Okay, baby.
Being a working mom is so easy.
Right?
Highly recommended. No, zero stress, no multitasking. I go ahead and do that. So I'm from Oakland, went to Juilliard. I'm an actor, founding mirror trainer, doula, lactation counselor, and founder of Birth Queen. So the nonprofit that I founded March 8th of last year to combat the Black maternal health crisis. And so, we just trying to empower, not only save Black queens, but empower so we can thrive in these streets and not just survive, because that narrative is tired.
Right. Yeah. And we also have Miss Anya Akil. Anya is a student midwife, mother, and advocate working to reduce racial disparities in all outcomes of pregnancy. Her goal is to provide people the broad scope of reproductive health care during and outside of pregnancy. So I am so grateful to have you ladies here with me today, and we're going to get into it. Today we're talking about doulas. We'd want to know, what are doulas exactly? Are they important? All the things about doulas, the things that you think people know, but they don't, and the things that we know most people don't know. So let's talk a little bit about how you came. Well, let's talk about what is a doula, first of all, and anybody can jump in, whoever wants to, be the first to talk.
Everybody's shy.
I know. Don't be shy. Jump in, y'all.
I don't believe that. Not one of us is shy.
No.
Y'all go ahead on. Say something.
So I think to keep it 100, to keep it Oakland, basically a doula, let's start here. You can have a hospital birth with a doula. You do not have to birth in the woods with a doula or a midwife. Basically, your doula is your coach, and she's above the waist, and your midwife or your OB is below the waist. It's the person that you lean on. I call it like your best friend and your mom or your sister without all the drama, to keep you focused and empowered. And it's also for the birthing person and a partner, or if you don't have a partner, it's an excellent partner through your journey. And the coolest thing about a doula is they're committed to your entire birth. So like, they don't have to do shift changes and attend to other people. It's just about you. Like, I've had a dad say, I'm just glad you're here because you've been a constant through this whole process. And everyone else goes to lunch and comes back and goes to dinner. And you've just been with us the whole time. And I'm like, yep, I'm just going to be with you the whole time. So that's a doula in a nutshell.
Nice. Anybody else have anything you want to add to that?
I'll add. One of the definitions, that traditional definition, but I've reframed it. We are women in service to other women. Yes. In the time of pregnancy, birth, the most sacred act, the most profound thing any human will ever do is birth forth a child. So there have always been women caring for women during birth. They weren't called doulas, but we were always, from every culture, from our African culture to Asian culture, Hispanic culture, Mexican cultures, there's always those shamanic women caring. So some were midwives, but even those that didn't catch the babies, I don't think the term was named doula at that time. It was just women
holding space for women. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. And sorry, it's during your pregnancy, your birth, and postpartum, and there are, bereavement doulas if you miscarry as well. So
yeah, I'm one of those.
Yeah.
Nice. And so you mentioned the term midwife. What is the difference between a midwife and a doula?
I'll speak on that. Your midwife is your care provider in the same way your OB is your care provider. Now, there are some people who do co-care where they do see an OB, and they intend to birth in a hospital, and they also hire a midwife to come and provide prenatal care and support them in the hospital. But essentially, they do the same function. As a midwife, we are doing your prenatal care. We're checking your vitals. We're palpating your baby. That means we're feeling for baby's position. We're giving you nutritional advice and support. We're giving you supplement recommendations. We're drawing your OB labs and your blood work and your GBS testing and your glucose testing, all the tests that you choose to get during your pregnancy. We are providing your postpartum care, not only for you, but baby up to 6 months postpartum. The biggest difference between midwifery care and OB care is midwifery care is based on informed consent, and OB care or hospital care is blanket consent, meaning you check into the hospital and you are under the care of an OB. Those papers that you sign, you're agreeing to what that care provider, what that hospital deems safe and necessary for you and your baby. You're agreeing to all of that. And if at any point you disagree with one of their recommendations, you need to sign a form that's called an AMA, an Against Medical Advice form. Whereas a midwife, we're saying, okay, you're 20 weeks. At 20 weeks, we would like you to get an anatomy scan, and we would like you to do this testing. These are what these tests are for. Here are the pros and cons. What do you want to do? So we might say we highly recommend, or some midwives have in their protocols, they need certain tests to be your care providers. But for the most part, you are, it's collaborative care. You're saying, I want this test and I don't want this test. I want no ultrasounds, or I want one ultrasound, or I want all the ultrasounds. So I think that's also the biggest difference between midwifery care and OB care. And
Okay.
midwives, we don't manage birth like a medical procedure. We allow birth to happen. So birth looks really different than an OB. It's different when you allow birth to just happen versus, oh, Pitocin, and we need to induce you, and it's been 24 hours. We need to speed things up. This baby's got to come out right now. Like, it's, you're not on the clock, per se.
Have some yogurt so I can have this go. The two things I love that you said that I think are really key is palpation. So I said I'm a trainer, but I specialize also, my niche is pre and postnatal fitness. And I had midwife supported births in a hospital setting. But the key I feel that's really different between an OB approach and a midwife is touch, the power of touch. And so I think there's also a centering of mama at the center of her pregnancy and birth. I know what this is. Yes, what is that?
That's my toothpaste.
Oh, your toothpaste. We had a weird substance on our finger, and we've discovered what it is. It's toothpaste. But the mouth is clean, so that's key. So palpation to me is huge, but that also teaches a woman, how to know where her baby is positioned and not be reliant on, ultrasounds and all of that. And I think it's just a more confident experience. Let me finish my thought. And the other thing is, the tests. I remember being pregnant at the same time as friends of mine, and the stress level that they had because everything was treated so pathologically versus, if you got this test and you found out that your baby had X, Y, or Z, what are you going to do about it? Like, do you really think this is what you want to do or need to do? And so you, again, are at the center of the entire process. And again, you're not treated like you're sick, because you're not. And we have to understand, when you birth in a hospital setting, I got to slow myself because I feel my soapbox. All the thoughts just started. So we gonna stick with the palpation and the centering of mother.
I knew we weren't shy. I knew it.
We'll get to the hospital at some point.
So when I hear you guys talk, I hear a lot of things a lot of terms or things that you can talk about freely because you have this experience. So if I'm a first-time mom, how do I know what kind of, let me just say, you can choose a birth team, right? Until things, God forbid, get out of hand or whatever. And then, you have to do what you have to do, right? But in the beginning, you can imagine what you might want your birth to look like, and you can seek out a team to support that.
Right.
And so,
which is a privilege, the way this has been all constructed, right?
Yes, absolutely. Right. And so, but how do we make it so more people have that privilege?
Oh, such a great question. Let me see if my thoughts are together for that one. That's been the question I've asked myself. And I mean, this is one great thing about social media, is that we can now do a platform like this. And hopefully, how do we reach that first-time pregnant mom who's in the anxiety and into the stories of her girlfriends or aunts or moms who did not necessarily have a birth that was calm, from the time we were young, we're like, oh my God, childbirth is the worst thing you're ever going to experience, or, your period is going to be this or that, the red baron's coming. There's like, no, this is sacredness. We're talking about the divine feminine. We're talking about carrying life. So this right here is how we get the first time pregnant mom. And I mean, I've been doing this 20 years and I'm just like, wow. I mean, now more and more women of color are coming to me. I'm like, I've been here. Hello. I've been over here. But I will say that platforms, getting our word out, doing our interviews with our clients so that they know what it is that a doula is. And so, like, I think, is it Rachel or Rebecca? Okay. When you mentioned earlier about, you don't have to, having a doula doesn't mean you're going to be birthing in the wild. I tell people who take my classes, look, if you want to have an empowered birth in a hospital setting, because still the majority of women are birthing in hospitals, I want to help you build a home birth consciousness, and you're just having a home birth in a hospital setting.
Right.
So you have to stay in that mentality. So it doesn't mean that necessarily you're going to have a natural, non-medicated birth, but believe me, if you don't go in educated, we want to educate the moms, the first time moms. They just think, oh, I'm going to go in and I'm just going to get an epidural and da da da. I want women to go in as happy. I want them to come out of the hospital as happy as they went in. Right. And it's so heartbreaking to see women come out. And I hear women say to me, oh, the nurses made me do this and they made me do that. And I asked them, the first thing I asked, did you do a childbirth education course? Yeah. Was it an empowered one? Was it a childbirth education course outside of the hospital setting? And I went, no, I took the 1-day course. I'm like, we get 9 to 9.5 months to be pregnant. And you think 1 day or 3 days is going to do it? You got to go in. You got to really educate yourself. So this platform, other platforms, and us, like, collectively, I'm so grateful, Angela, that you had this idea and you contacted me. This is how we're going to get it out.
Right.
Y'all
and understanding how we got here. So that's when I was like, bloop, bloop. Yeah. If we don't understand that we do birth, let's break it down. My dad's 71, and he like, how is there a Black maternal health crisis when Black women birthed the baby, made the babies, birthed the babies, fed the babies, clothed the babies, wore the babies, took care of the babies, and now we dying having babies? It didn't compute in his 70-year-old brain. He said, that makes no sense to me. So what we need to understand, everybody needs to understand, but where I'm focused on is our queens. Yes, my love. I don't know. It's how we got here. But really what we come from, and we come from abundance, and we come from an empowered people, and every baby in this country was born at the hands of a Black woman. And so we don't need a hospital, we don't need white men, we don't need white coats to have babies, because God made us to have that, and nobody's baby would be here today without our care and our bodies and our hands. And so we have to understand that. So midwives were not white women. Mommy. Birth was not done by white people or white people with money. It was done by Black women. That's what happened. I know my kid. Really quick. Marion Sims was the doctor that perfected the cesarean section. OBs are surgeons. So please understand, we've all watched a surgeon show like Grey's Anatomy. What do surgeons like to do? Cut, because that's what they're good at. They're not the devil. That's just what they do. One thing. They don't do everything. They're not comfortable palpating. They don't know how to do all of the things. Right. They don't know. And what they did is they knew, they were like, wait, I done made a lot of babies. We can make some money. Let's just throw them in a ward and charge them. But I don't know what I'm doing. So they demonized midwives, right? The Black women, the slaves, to make money. Disease spread. We start dying. So we're thinking, oh God, birth is dangerous. No. Birth became dangerous at the hands of greedy white men who wanted to make money. Now, we've gone a long time, but understand that our bodies are not broken. Not white ones, not purple ones, not pink ones, not Black ones. Women's bodies are not broken. They know that they will make money by you thinking you're broken. I've had white clients say, I'm just going to schedule a C-section because I can't give birth to a baby. We have done a major disservice to women across the board. And then Black women, that's a whole nother thing. And then I'll stop because my child. Yes.
Yeah. I was going to say what you said, and touching on what you said, Angela, is yes, it's education.
I don't know what we have.
We don't trust our body's ability anymore, because I've seen a lot of women, they take all the classes, they read all the books, and they are educated. They understand birth and they understand pregnancy and they understand what's going to happen to their body physiologically. But when they get into the birthing process and those contractions start kicking in, they don't have trust. They don't trust their body. They don't trust they're safe. They don't trust they're okay. So yes, education or re-education has to happen. We need to be re-educated, but also have to be connecting within ourselves to know that our bodies were designed to give birth.
You said something. We have to be something within ourselves. What did you say?
We have to get reconnected
to
ourselves.
Okay. Yes.
And understand that our bodies were designed to do this. And it's not just an understanding like you logically understand that. It's a true knowing, a deep knowing and understanding that my body has this. And we think that we're the ones doing all the work. Babies are working in birth. They do 7 cardinal movements. Your baby is working. They are moving to come down. Your baby is super smart and super intuitive and knows exactly what to do. And birth is actually triggered by a hormone that the baby releases when the baby is fully developed and
when
ready.
they're ready, not when you're ready.
Not when you're ready, not when your OB is ready, not when the midwife is ready. When your baby is fully developed, they will release a hormone that's based on their lung development. Then labor will start. The other thing we have got it all fucked up.
They're not too big. You don't need to be induced.
Now, there's an asterisk because you're following a healthy diet. You are following a healthy diet, healthy lifestyle. The weight you gain, the weight your baby gains is not too big for your body to birth. However, there are cases where we get sugar babies. That's a different story. But the other problem is this timeline, this clock, the 40-week thing. There are people who need 42 weeks, 42 and a half weeks, 43 weeks, because everybody's cycle is different and the rate that babies develop are different. So this whole thought process that at 40 weeks, all of a sudden the baby needs to come out or the baby is going to die is just asinine. It is really ridiculous. And that is one of the biggest disservices as well, as this time clock. Even the whole you're supposed to dilate a centimeter every hour. You know, a white man came up with that rule that you're supposed to dilate a centimeter every hour.
Because his cervix dilated every hour.
Right. My last birth was 2.5 hours. Please explain me the math of how I dilated to 10.
Well, girl, can we trade places? Because I had 33 and 56. And my second baby was 56. And everybody's like, the second baby come real fast. I was like, well, mine's not. Can you shut up, please? Thank you.
Well, since all of y'all birthed, I didn't birth this lifetime. No, I didn't birth this. I birthed back that lifetime. But I want to touch on what you were talking about a moment ago about, yes, it's more than education. And one of the things, like you were talking about your niche, I've got several of them, but the one that really supports me and supports my moms is that I do pregnancy life coaching with them. So I am a spiritually anchored woman, and I'm clear that the Creator created women to birth. Yeah. Now, here's the deal. The body is designed to birth. The milk will come in. That divine essence that lives within each of us, every woman, that is sacred.
Mommy,
my job, and one of the things I do when I do pregnancy life coaching sessions with my clients, is to help them touch that part of themselves that is spirit, that is the feminine. So with that level of education, and believe me, I'm meeting with them once a month. And then the last month of pregnancy, we're touching base each week, because there has to be a shift in consciousness. So are you birthing in fear, or are you birthing in a consciousness of love? So my thing is about the consciousness. And so I want to say and address that, and yes, every woman is designed to birth. Not every woman is going to birth or conceive naturally. Depending on what her physical experience has been in this earth plane, meaning if there was sexual abuse, if there was physical abuse, if there was trauma. So when I meet someone and say if they are 5 months pregnant, how much am I going to be able to go into her own spiritual and psychological makeup to extract, okay, she had a rape at this age, so sometimes you can delve too deep, and that creates more trauma. So I have to listen intuitively on how to guide
Right.
Totally.
Clients, that's one of the things. So here's the deal. And I say this to my clients. I said, look, the agreement between the birthing mother and her child, as that's their agreement. So that child either knows it's going to come through C-section, natural, or vaginal medicated. So as doulas, we need to hold sacred space. And sometimes you can be at a birth and it's like, no, don't make that choice. Okay, get out of the way. It's not about you, Angela Brown. It's not about you. Hold space and allow room for her to make the choice, because every woman's going to birth at her level of own consciousness.
Right.
And some women will want medicated birth. They're like, okay, they're doing it. And we know they're like 8 centimeters and the baby's going to be out quickly, but they're like, I can't do it. And so, and then they shut down and the little girl tries to birth. I'm like, little girls can't birth worth a damn. They just go into tantrum, start crying and stuff. And so, okay. And so then what you going to do with that? So when I see a woman starting to cry, I'm like, okay, I will honor that journey for her. So that's why I say, so helping moms move through the fear. Sometimes the trauma is so deep.
Yes.
I can't, y'all don't even know some of the births I've seen. Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that will also depict. So
Yeah.
that agreement, there's in the Akashic records, that soul and the mother, that baby and the mother agreed upon that time to birth upon in this incarnation at that time.
Yeah.
And so we want them to birth naturally. Yes, we do. We love natural birth. We love home birth. We love births in a birth. Yep. I do a lot of hospital births, but when I get a home birth, I'm like, or births in a birth, I love that.
Right.
Somebody else take the floor before I go on. I'm getting ready to go.
No, I think to tag on to that understanding of, I went on my understanding historically how with OBs, but the key that women have to, Black women need to understand, and everyone again, is that this doctor deduced, you get 3, you get 2, you go in your room 1. No. Close your mouth.
I thought you were talking to us, girl.
No. The baby. I'm like, I try to give you all the things, but sometimes the Oakland mama have to come out. So what was deduced after he practiced upon Black bodies, mainly after us being raped without anesthesia, and many of us survived this practice of the cesarean section, he deduced that Black women don't feel pain the same way white women feel. So that holds true today. Studies still show that. And so why Black women are dying is because we are not heard. We don't feel safe to communicate. I experienced it with my last birth. They don't trust. They just think we're so strong. I'm like, I feel these contractions. I'm not superhuman. It's that. Then going on to understanding that the cervix doesn't open if a woman is not feeling safe. So the way I say it is, a dog will not give birth in the middle of Rodeo Drive or Michigan Avenue or Fifth Avenue because her body knows she's not safe. And so does that baby. Studies have, Zia, if she doesn't feel safe, will not give birth. That's our dog. So he listening. So the other thing is, studies have even shown that a woman's cervix has closed when she feels unsafe due to a setting. So she can be birthing, dilating, and a provider comes in that triggers trauma or just makes her feel unsafe, and she will close. So we have to understand how important it is to center a mother and make her feel empowered and safe to birth. Otherwise, all these interventions are necessary, which is why you see insane levels of interventions for Black women, because we don't feel safe. So many of us stall at 4 centimeters. Pretty much every friend I know has stalled at 4 centimeters. And then we're just worried about the interventions, and then the interventions start and then they're not working. And then we end up with a C-section, and then they just throw us home. It's just, and that affects breastfeeding. And then that affects your hormones because you didn't want to bottle feed, and it's just all interconnected. So I think it's really important to also trust your gut, because you don't have to have ever had a baby to know how you need to birth and what your body and your baby needs. And I'll in this section was saying, my mother raised me to say, you know what is best for your body and your baby, and can't nobody tell you, no matter what white coat letter experience, because the machines don't feel your contraction before you do.
That's right.
You do. So you don't need the machine. You don't need the man. You don't need the person with, you need you. And until, again, we center a mother in the birth experience, nothing's going to change. So if you don't feel like number one, because guess what? None of us will be here without women birthing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Right.
Everybody on the planet lived in the womb of a mother.
Correct.
Everybody.
So, ladies, as you're talking, I hear so much, I mean, an abundance of knowledge, experience, spirituality. How does a woman choose a doula? Like, what are the questions she should? First of all, you can do interviews for people who don't know. You can do interviews. You can, get a list of doulas that you might be interested in speaking to. Have interviews, ask questions, see where they're coming from. And so, from you guys, what are some questions that they can ask to kind of separate? I don't know, better doulas from not so great doulas. Like, what makes a good doula? What are the green flags we should be looking for? What are the red flags we should be looking for? How do you choose?
I mean, I'm going to start because I may have a different answer from other people, because I personally think you need to choose your doula based on an energy. I'm very big on energy, because the thing is, there can be a doula who just finished her training. There could be somebody who never took a doula training and decided that this is their calling, and you meet them and they could be the best doula for you. There is a doula for everybody. And
Everybody
talked about feeling safe. Birth is a very vulnerable process. Pregnancy is a very vulnerable process, and you have to be able to open up, and you have to be able to build trust with this person. You have to trust them, and they in turn have to trust you, and there's got to be a deep connection there. And if the energy isn't right, I don't really care what their answers are. I don't care if they've been a doula for 20 years, 30 years, 10 years. I don't care if they come from a fucking lineage of doulas and midwives and whatever. But if the vibe isn't right, if the energy isn't right, it's not going to work. And in turn, I really think doulas need to choose their clients, because we don't talk about that. Fine.
Say that again.
Somebody just asked.
Somebody just asked.
You're interviewing me. I'm fucking interviewing you, because this is energy work, and I've got to protect my energy, and I got to show up for you. I got babies. I got a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 5-year-old, and I got to fucking leave my whole family to support you. And I'm opening up my vessel.
Girl, that Oakland that rubbed off on you. Where was you? I tried to give up cursing for a minute. Otherwise, you would have heard it like 75 times.
Y'all talk about Oakland.
Like, yes, ask your question.
No, not tomorrow.
Wait, say that again.
First, have you been at? Those are
Ask
great
your
questions.
questions.
Honestly, who cares if they have a certificate? Because the reality is, all these certificate programs have stolen knowledge from Black people and packaged that shit up and are reselling it back to us. So really, really, birth work is a calling, and you have this knowledge already. You just have to tap into it. So I really don't even think the certification is necessary. So really, my biggest advice to you is interview doulas, but really go with the doula that you feel connected to, that is heart space, that you feel safe with, that has got your back. Because especially as a Black woman, doula is so much more than holding space. We're an advocate. We're a therapist. We're your friend. We're your spiritual advisor. We're everything. We're everything. A training cannot teach you that.
No. And on the flip side, there's some of these like very experienced, pricey doulas who need to get slapped.
Okay.
What you saying?
It's like,
what you talking about, Willis? I don't know what you
like. It's just a bit much, like, because doulas have to remember it's not about you. It's kind of like actors who like get on stage and we call it like masturbation. And I'm like, are you telling someone else's story, or are you having a self-masturbation moment on stage and just really stinking it up? Because a good doula might know that she's not needed because the birthing woman is in her zone and she's good. So she can sit in a corner.
Yes.
And you have to be confident enough to know that you holding space with your butt cheeks in a chair is enough.
Yes.
And that maybe that partner needs a little support. So you whisper to partner, don't rub her forehead like 5 times. You just all the men need to know just one time, baby.
On that one.
Yeah.
Just one time.
It's okay, baby. You know, it's like this. There's nothing like this. This is not soothing.
Yeah. You know, Rachel, I tell all my clients all the time in an interview, straight up, I tell them this. I said, I'm certified Reiki. I can do this. I can do that. And guess what? I'm not going to sell you that, because right now you're telling me you want all these things. When those contractions hit, you might be like, shut the fuck up. I don't want to. So why am I selling you Reiki and Rebozo and essential oils and massage this and that when I don't know if you're going to want that? Doulas need to show up for how that woman needs to be supported in the moment. And just like you said, Rachel, it might be sitting in the corner. It might be leaving. It might be constant hip squeezes. You just really do not know.
You don't know, because you're not going to know what you need. Like I remember I had one woman to that end who was like, I'm breathing my baby out of my vagina. And I said, okay. That's like, and then she didn't want to work with me because I was like, I'm here for you exhaling your baby out of your vagina, and there might be a little bit more that goes into it. And then she had her baby, and then she saw me because we were neighbors, and she's like, it was nothing like this. That clap. I was like, I was trying to tell you, sis. I didn't say it couldn't be beautiful. It's gonna be a little bit more than a sneeze. Like,
or number two on steroids times 1,000 coming out.
Yeah. So, about this price, because the price, I'm in LA. I don't know where y'all are at, but the price spectrum is anywhere from $1,000 to $8,000 for doula services. So people are confused. And I get out of some clients because people are like, oh, well, this other person doesn't charge that. Okay, cool. They're not.
Well, it's your time.
Like, I'm charging for my time. I'm charging for my worth. So
that's right.
$8,000 is kind of crazy. That's like the price of a midwife. But I'm not going to. So maybe they bring $8,000 worth of experience. I don't know. I personally would not pay for that, but the price spectrum, just know there is a price spectrum if you are shopping for doulas.
Oh, and I want to address this. Oh, and you want to say something?
No, go ahead.
I mean, I'm down in Orange County. I was up in LA for 7 years before my practice came down here. So when I was up in LA, my price was one price. When I came down here, it was like $800 less. I was like, so I was like, I wasn't getting any, because I was charging way over when I came down here. So I had to adjust a bit. But I'm going to say that this is also about our own worth. So we put out our own frequency of what we want to call forth to ourselves. And here's the thing. Somebody can pay $8,000 or $10,000 for a doula and won't blink an eye.
Yep. Right.
So, and that could be a high conscious human being saying, look, I want the best. Here you go. I'm like, oh, thank you very much. That time that I had the clients, and they said, well, Angela, it was a 3-day birth. See, that will make you change your feet. When you had 3 days, you're like, oh no, I got to do better. I got to do better, Lord. So I did better, but this was what they did. I said, okay, I'll come out to you earlier. And they were in Santa Monica. Their front porch was the Pacific Ocean. And they said, well, Angela, we'll put you up at the hotel, Angela. I'm like, oh, okay, thank you. We'll send a car for you when we think, oh, okay, thank you. And so I thought, okay, more of this, God, please, thank you so very much. Thank you. So when people have it, believe me, this man was gracious. Self-made millionaire. He was gracious. So I'm not gonna be like, well, my fee is $1,500. I don't think so, because then I'm still stuck in a worth someplace back here.
But that's huge to talk about birth workers understanding our worth. Like, we can have nice things and do well. This whole, again, the survival narrative continues with our birth work. And so, yes, preach on that, because that's huge for me as well.
But
we shouldn't be living in lack.
You're right. And I also want to say to people, because I've heard a few people now talk about, not wanting to, you know, spend so much money on, you know, on this birth experience. And, you know, and I just feel like, but we spend so much money on shoes, purses, clothes, going to the club, popping bottles. I'm like, it is beyond me how we can be extravagant in so many different ways and not understand, like, this is my baby. This is the human being that I am bringing into this world, and now I'm gonna get cheap. I don't. To me, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yes. And
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. So yeah. Honestly, I think it just goes back to what we were talking about before, an education thing. I think people just don't fully understand what giving birth is. And we also don't understand what postpartum is. There's just so much focus on the pregnancy and the birth. And then we're just like, okay, bye. And we drop you off. Because honestly, I a lot of money on a doula postpartum is key. Do that. Get a postpartum.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes. Pay.
But okay, so let me interrupt you there, Anya. For people who don't know, there are birth doulas, there are postpartum doulas, there are grieving what was it called?
It's
bereavement
Bereavement
or,
doulas.
they call them sometimes death doula, or you know, it's a thing. But I didn't put that in my bio. I forgot to. But yes,
So there are different doulas for different phases of your perinatal process.
And I think it's good to make the differentiation, especially like in New York City and like certain things.
Yeah.
It's like, I want a baby nurse. So understanding that a baby nurse, the best way to kind of describe the difference is like the baby nurse is getting the baby out of your way versus a doula, because like clearly kids are going to be in your way forever. Like that's nothing about having a child is convenient. Sorry, it's too late if you're already pregnant. If you want a convenient life, don't close your legs, okay? Go get some birth control. Breastfeeding on demand, real convenient, right, Angela?
Right. I mean, whipping it out on Instagram
on
Live.
IG, right.
Oh yeah, I whip it all the time. People are like, I call it pop the boob and feed the baby. Like, do you wait for a snack? No.
Right.
So they shouldn't wait for snacks either. And I have black boys, so I'm like, they life gonna be hard enough. They want some titties, they can just have it whenever they want it. So facts. I mean, come on. So, but yes. So you want someone, again, the postpartum doula comes into the house to just support you so you can take a shower, take a nap, wash some clothes, like do all the things you feel bad asking for other people to do. And then other people just sitting there making you entertain them when you like, sis, my vagina feels like it's gonna fall out and my titties are engorged and I'm trying to breastfeed this baby and my nipples are cracked. I don't really want to talk to you. You're not helping. So like a doula's there to like help you because people don't know how to help. And all of this costs money. So let's be real. Everybody can't afford this. My situation with baby 1 and baby 2 were very different financially. So I think a great suggestion is to register for these things, register for a doula, register for a lactation counselor, register for your midwife, register for a postpartum doula, register for a pelvic floor therapist.
And by register, you mean?
Like on your registry, you don't need $1,000 stroller. You actually don't. You don't need a bunch of Burberry baby clothes. You actually don't. You don't need $50 like organic onesies. Yeah. You don't. You can get cloth diapers because you and your baby are going to be in a diaper and you have your boob out and you and your baby are in a diaper with a titty out and everybody's fine. Because you don't need to be doing anything or going anywhere like other than around the block to walk. Like, do you know what I'm saying?
Oh my God.
When you going around the block to walk?
Huh?
Better not be a couple of days after giving birth because we also need to talk about that. Lay your ass in bed. Nothing. Do nothing.
Yeah, I'm a trainer. I have women who reach out 1 week postpartum like, I'm ready to take your class. I'm like, if you don't lay down. Wow. Wow.
No, it's go lay.
Yes.
I want to. There was a comment I was going to make. Oh, so one of my dear friends, the Reverend Diana Presley. Yes, I called her name out. She says, you know what? I'm sick of this. She said, because she holds me and holds, because I have women who hold the vibration for me when I go to births. She's one of them. And she said, you know what? These women need to, before they get pregnant, they need to get the money, you know, for the baby. They need to have some money for the education. They need the doula money. They need the postpartum doula money. Whatever they need to start prepping for it way before they get pregnant. And she has been adamant about this. She says, start, you know, so that way, and believe me, I have clients who've prepped and they're like, oh, here's the money, here's this. It's no big deal. So and that's that conscious parenting, going into it consciously. Now I know that birth and pregnancy happens by surprise. And people are like, I don't know what happened. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
Right.
And now, you know, then it just gets real. But I think that in all seriousness, I ask people, so there could be someone who is in the, let's just say, an accountant or somebody in business, and they may get, you know, $100 an hour or whatever, or more. And they work 8 hours, maybe 10. I said, who are you getting up in the middle of the night? You gonna go rub on somebody's ass for an endless amount of hours? I don't know when I'm coming back. When I leave my house, I don't know what day I'm getting back.
Right.
And so it is not just, there is energy, there is physicality in this work. And I've noticed sometimes it's the dads that may not find the worth of it too much, because the dads have left in a second, or influence the woman if she doesn't have her own money to contribute to that household. Say, look, this is the one I want. And I believe that men is, if a woman feels a resonance with the doula, then it's like, okay, babe, I'll make it happen for you. We're going to do this thing. That's consciousness. And that's holding sacred space for your woman, saying, you know, this is the one I'm resonating with. This is who I'm resonating with. And so what happens is, you know, a man ends up, you know, I have a woman call me, she said, I'm so pissed off. I should have never listened to him. You know, and I said, you know, we're going to work on some forgiveness work. No, Angela, I ain't ready to forgive right now. I'm really upset with my husband. I said, well, you didn't quite have your own voice. And I offered you the pregnancy life coaching session. I know that, but I know that now. So I'm planning now that I'm going to get pregnant in 2022 and you're going to be my doula.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. So we need to have our own voice, not only with our finances. And like, if men were pregnant, you better believe.
They would be getting sections left and right. Pause. They would
exactly, and they wouldn't breastfeed.
They would be scheduling C-sections. And to your point too, though, about like the finances, yes, it's a consciousness thing, but also you can't be afraid to ask for what you need, because I've had 3 pregnancies and 3 beautiful births all out of the hospital. And every single time I get pregnant, I'm like, I'm gonna have this, I'm gonna have that, I'm gonna have this, and then life hits, and my husband loses a job, or I lost a job, or you know, I don't have the money I thought I had, and you know what? I'm not like, damn, now I gotta go to the hospital and use my insurance. I'm like, fuck that. I open my mouth and I say, midwife A, this is what I have.
Yes.
Who offers sliding?
Tell people. I'm so glad you said that. Yeah.
For my 3rd birth, I had 3 doulas in total, and I had a midwife, and all of it was sliding scale because of what I put back into the community. Because guess what? Barter. Like, Rachel, you're a personal trainer. If you were pregnant and you wanted me to be your doula, I'd be like, bet you can't afford it. Well, can we exchange personal training for doula services? Right. Get crafty. This is your care. A lot of people feel like somebody said, stop getting pregnant. I don't really think that's a helpful solution. I think it's bigger than that. We need to put more money into resources so people can get the care that they want.
Chris 35th, this is the wrong Instagram live to be trying to show your behind on. Don't do that.
Insurance coverage is the problem, because if people could actually use their insurance for midwifery care and doula care and postpartum care and pelvic floor therapists, then this actually wouldn't be a fucking conversation about what people can afford, because insurances should be paying for this.
All of it, right. It's not like we're running up a bill. We're helping dying under the care of insurance companies, hospitals, and medical professionals. So as a result, we're having to pay for out of pocket our survival and the survival of our children. So, Mr. Chris and the audience listening, Black women die at 3 to 5 times the rate as white women in childbirth, 12 times the rate in New York City. Let me say that one more time. 12 times the rate in New York City. Why? Because racism. Why? Because Black women's bodies aren't respected. Why are we having this conversation? So that Black women have to set aside money to make sure she and her baby leave the hospital alive.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, let me break it down a little bit more. Insurance companies don't cover midwifery.
Nope.
I know because my first son, when I didn't have all this money as a trainer to be, have paid time off, and I'm trying to set aside coins to make sure I can take care of my baby and heal my own body before going back to physical training as my own career, I called my PPO insurance company that my husband and I paid a ton of money for. And they said, ma'am, we're not sure we're going to cover your $8,000 midwife birth, but I'm sorry, you gonna cover the $80,000 C-section that you are gonna force upon my Black body if you don't feel like treating me or I'm not dilating on your clock.
Yep.
Because, let's go there. When a cervix and a water breaks, you get 12 hours to fully dilate. My cervix don't dilate at that hour. So if I didn't have people to advocate for me, if I didn't know what the fuck was going on with my body and this racist system, I would have been cut. My kid would have been vacuumed. And guess what? I know my strength. I had women in the room looking at me like she can't birth a baby because I'm not big hip, this, that, and the third, but I know my power. Yeah. And so I had to stave off judgment during both of my pregnancies, both of my births, because I know what I'm worth and I know what I'm doing to birth my babies. I don't need medicine. I don't need Pitocin to push my babies out. I know how to do that. But no woman should have to sit and advocate for herself and her baby at the most vulnerable time in her life. And Black women ain't that damn strong, nor should we have to be. So Chris, have excuse Lent, putting aside motherfucking seats. Yeah. Okay.
And on top of that, how many of us gotta go back to work 6 weeks after we birthed the fucking baby?
Which is crazy.
My first child, I gave birth and then literally was back at the office for 9-hour days before she was 2 months old. They didn't provide me with a private pumping place, lost my entire breast milk supply, had to put her on formula. She had crazy to, and I'm sobbing, crying in the office every fucking day. My mom is bringing her to my job so I can breastfeed her for 10 fucking minutes. And then I ask, can I have a set schedule so I can take care of my child? They say no. And then a month and a half after I return back to work, I'm fired because it's an inconvenience to accommodate me. So when you're talking about stop having babies, it's the financial piece is not just we don't have money. It's fucking layered. It's layered. Yeah. It's really not that simple, cut and dry. But back to my original point is you need to ask because you was the point. Chris took me off. The point was open your mouth and advocate for what you need, because there are a lot of providers that are willing to do sliding scale or payment plans or extended payment plans. And also for everybody on this call that is not Black, you have a due diligence to pay full cost for these services so that providers can offer sliding scale. You have a due diligence to put money into these organizations. You have a due diligence to advocate for better maternal health care and better insurance coverage. We cannot do this work alone. Black women are tired of screaming and advocating and being talked over. You need to fucking do the work too, because y'all rally for the dumbest fucking shit, and we need y'all to rally for this. And put your money behind this. Because from 2018 to 2020, Black women, the rate at which we die increased. It's now 54.5%. 54.5% of Black women die in childbirth. That increased from 2018 to 2020. How is that even possible when in these last 2 years, I feel like there's been so many conversations about Black women dying and we need more doulas and we need more midwives, and Gavin Newsom's talking about, I put in this law into effect. Okay, well, how is this helping? The real problem is the whole system needs to be burnt the fuck down.
Right. I want to talk for a minute. So Kim _ Nefer 333 is asking, are there foundations to help Black women pay for doulas?
Yes.
Can we talk about some of those resources now?
In Angeles specifically, in California specifically, there's the Frontline Doulas and the Victoria Project. Both of those organizations are amazing. Frontline Doulas provides doula support. The Victoria Project is a fucking godsend. They fund holistic care. They will pay for your midwife, your prenatal chiropractic care, your prenatal massages, your placenta.
Put their handle in, Anya. Put their handle
your birth doula, your postpartum doula. They are literally God's work. I have a client.
I'll find it, Rachel, and send it to you.
Was able to get, so I'm a student midwife. She was a VBAC. In the practice that my preceptor who's training me, her requirements for VBACs, vaginal birth after cesarean, is that they have to do chiropractic care. The Victoria Project not only covered my midwife's full fee, they also funded all of her chiropractic care for the entire prenatal course. She was able to get a birth. She was able to get placenta encapsulation. She paid $0. $0. But that organization is only able to stay afloat by people donating. There's run out of money, and they've had to turn down applications because there are no more funds. So the Victoria Project, from Doulas, Black Mamas Matter, these are all places where you can put your money aside, and don't be like, I don't have enough money. $5 matters. $1 matters. It all matters. It all adds up.
Rachel, do you know any places in New York that you can
not
about?
that I'm thinking of at the top of my head, but it made me think. I know Tracy Collins is on the live, and she founded National Black Doula Association. So the other thing is, for the Black women on the call, is we know that when we are cared for by Black women, there's positive outcomes. So she's created a directory of Black doulas to find that. You know, I'm like, my brain is like turning off quickly, but I feel like we should post maybe a graphic or resources or whatever. But I also have a lot of resources on my website, Birth Queen. So if you go to birthqueen.org and or follow at birthqueen.org, a lot of the work I'm doing is gathering and creating a directory, because that's also what's so challenging during this period, is you just feel so overwhelmed. You get pregnant, there's like 800 books and opinions that you're trying to follow. So a lot of what I want to do for Black birthing people is just to have one centralized location about like how to do that. The other person that's created a wonderful tool to find trustworthy providers and avoid those that you shouldn't trust is Kimberly Seals Allers. So download the Earth app. It's birth without the B for bias. And so it's like a Yelp for Black birthing people.
That's amazing.
So she really encourages everyone that's given birth in the last 2 years, I think is the metric. Please, share your experience. And if I'm honest, some of my traumatizing experiences I didn't share, but we have to protect one another and out the people that aren't caring and respecting our bodies. And know that there are beautiful experiences, and a lot of us have had positive experiences. So know that yes, there's some craziness out there. Absolutely. And there's a lot of beautiful. So if you're a woman, period, and especially a Black woman, that's aware of the Black maternal health crisis, don't just feel fear, and if you're feeling it, work through it, have therapy, do, work with people like Angela to really process and get into a spiritual place. Because I tell my clients, as similar to kind of what you were saying, but probably the Oakland version is like, you can't birth the baby with your brain. Like, it's not possible. So if you
from here up, it's not gonna be good.
It's not, this is all bad. You might as well just schedule a C-section if this is how you're trying to have a baby. Because like my OCD mamas and how much time and what day and where's it gonna happen and I'm like, girl, you understand, like, babies don't also work like that. So you also want to let them schedules start to go. I had actually one amazing OB at a birth. It was like, they birthed the baby, and she's like, oh, that was so hard. She's like, yeah, I mean, it's just the beginning of many challenges.
Yes.
Like parenting.
This is not the birth. It's like, oh, wait. You get to the toddler years, and they're like, no, I want to wear this. But I want to address something when we're talking about, the ratio of Black women dying and the women feeling more fear and Black women not being as strong. So I want to say this, and I want to say this to women who are pregnant. Because our history is so rich, and that we were created by the Creator and the Divine, God Most High, the safety that we're looking for is in ourselves.
Amen.
Yep.
So how do we come to align with that? And this is why I changed my practice and I started doing pregnancy life coaching sessions, because it wasn't enough for me personally to work with a woman and see her at the consultation and then have a meeting with her in the middle and then go to her birth. I needed to know where this woman was emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Yeah. And believe me, my clientele is very diverse. All my clients in the beginning were rabbinical students and Jewish people, because I was up in LA. And so that's who was coming to me back in 2002 and 2000, And so pregnancy life coaching sessions are designed so that as women, we can be like this, just in our fluid of emotion. And so pregnant, it can go like this. So my job as a coach is to keep the energy here. So there's not the swing. So pregnancy is about doing the spiritual work. You have to go in. Your child is in the womb,
Yes.
being incubated. You have to take your consciousness into the places inside your own psyche that you don't like. But you also, all the talk about, oh my God, the drama about pregnancy. Oh my God, the pregnancy is, oh, I'm so tired of this. You need to narrow your conversation and find a coach. We got business coaches. We got athletic coaches. We got all kinds of coaches. Singing coach. And the job that's the most important on the planet, growing and raising a clear, conscious human being. And we don't know coach. We want to talk to our friends and how they birthed, and they want to tell our horror stories. And then we go into birth and we got all these stories in our head and don't have our voice. Women, Black women, find your voice. When you know who you are, when you are clear about who you are as a woman, when you go, you're not going, see, here's the thing. And I've been telling clients like this left and right. You're not going into a hospital to do battle. You're going into the hospital to get your needs met.
Yeah.
So so you need to feed your consciousness, like, you know, okay, those who tend to me, touch me with the hand of love, speak to me with the voice of love. That's my intention. That's where I'm holding. Believe me, I have gone to births. I'm in Orange County, and they weren't expecting a big full figure. I had locks and now I'm shaved coming into the room. I don't say nothing. I do no battle with no nurse. I do no battle with no doctor. I am quiet and I work within. I have changed the energy in the room based on we ain't having that too. We're not having that today. Because I'm holding a frequency for my client and I expect her to hold her own frequency. And they're like, well, I want a doula who speaks for me. I said, no, if I've done my job in the 9
You need to speak for yourself.
Yeah, you will speak for yourself. One nurse doctor said to my client, she's spread eagle, legs open. She said, oh, you know, it's a tight fit down here. And, you know, it looks like your baby's going to have some decelerations. My client's hand came through her, over her belly. She says, no, up into the doctor's face. I will push this baby out in the next push, and there is no decelerations. That's because of the education she had with me in the private coaching sessions. Because that manipulation, I heard one doctor say, oh, you know, I want to help you out a bit. I'm going to help, you know, I just want to help you out. And I was like, what is she talking about? I looked over, the doctor had the scissors.
Yeah.
I looked at my client, I'm like, you said you don't want an episiotomy. She said, well, she said she'll help me feel better. I said, the choice is yours. I am not getting into a dialogue when you're already spread, you know, your legs are east and west. We've already talked about it. We've gone over countless times. And so she said, well, I want to feel better. That was the manipulation language that the doctor used. And that was a female doctor.
Yep.
Oh, sometimes they're the worst.
Yeah. Yes. And you touched on something, Angela, that I want to offer to anybody on this call that's pregnant, thinking about becoming pregnant. It is spiritual work, and this is a tool you can use. It's a tool I've used. I give it to my clients. You have to start visioning the pregnancy and the birth you want. And you have to vision it to the detail. People laugh at me when I tell them this, but I remember being in middle school. I manifested my pregnancies and my births. I always knew I was never going to have a C-section. I envisioned on the regular being pregnant and delivering my babies vaginally. You have to literally see every detail. You've got to see your baby. You've got to see yourself birthing that baby. And every minute detail of that experience, you've got to see it. You've got to feel it. You've got to claim it. You've got to affirm it. When you become pregnant, you put your hands over your belly and you speak these things every day over your baby. When in the quiet moments, when you lay down before you go to sleep, when you're in your car by yourself, if you're in the shower, you need to lay hands on your belly and speak over your experience, speak over your baby, speak over your body, and you need to see it. And you don't entertain any other vision other than the vision that you want. You don't, and you shoot it down. The moment doubt and fear starts creeping in, you say your affirmations. I am healthy and whole. I'm capable of birthing my baby. This power is not stronger than I am. Whatever the affirmations are, you just say them. That's how mindset works. People who are able to do this don't not have negative thoughts, don't not have fear and doubt. What it is you train your mind. And when the doubt and fear creeps in, you speak something positive over it. You get your mantras or whatever may have you. The other thing too is, and you touched on it in the hospital, it's you've got to be so steadfast in what you want. And our jobs as doulas, people have been saying doulas are advocates. Okay, yes, in a way, But if we have to advocate for you, if we have to speak for you, we have not done our job. Our job is to help you feel empowered, is to help you have the knowledge so you can advocate for yourself. I essentially am just a witness to what is happening. I am not your advocate. And I come in there and I'm just like Angela. I'm like, hi, how are you doing? Yes, okay. I'm very soft spoken. I put on my white voice, if you will. I'm not coming up in there all gangster like, nah, she said this and fuck that. And nope. Oh, hi.
Might be thinking it.
Yes. Oh, she's maybe -2. Okay, that's great. Oh, you're thinking about this. All right. Okay. And that's that. And you know what? Be prepared to sign some against medical advice forms. I tell people all the time, hospital is not jail. Hospital is not jail. You can ask for another OB at any time, another nurse at any time, another anybody at any time. You can kick people out the room and you can leave when the fuck you want to leave. You can leave when you want to leave. If you're stable and that baby's stable and you want to go home, guess what? Go the fuck home.
I've had a mom like that. Yeah.
Yeah. The hospital ain't jail.
I had a mom text me. She said, Angela, this nurse is getting on my nerves. The water had been broken about, 10 hours. And so she has another child, a toddler. She's like, well, if you leave the hospital, she just told me, if you don't want to kill your baby, she said, and she's texting me, I'm gonna whoop her ass, Angela. And I'm like, Mama, just do some breath work right now. She's like, she's my fire. I'm more like this, and she's my fire. So, Angela, I'm about to whoop her. I said, no, Mommy, just, sign. She goes, give me the paper. I'm gonna sign it. Went on home. Slept another 10 hours because she's got a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
And then went on back and had her vaginal birth and did her business, But the language that nurses use, and I'm a nurse, I don't work as a nurse, but we need to be more therapeutic and compassionate in our language. Like when I hear that projection about, oh, your baby's being difficult. No, and double no, triple no. The baby in the womb is not being difficult.
No.
What is happening is the baby's trying to work and come down. So that's a projection. Or well, it looks like your baby's having decelerations and they don't, your baby's not cooperating.
Cooperating with what?
According to what standard? To who? Like, that's what's just so crazy.
And
who can feel safe to birth, like in this little old bed with all these people coming in with clipboards? No one looks at you. No one checks on you. No one talks to you. Oh, and then my favorite is when they wanted to have a conference with my husband about my vagina. They just circled up. And I'm scaling the back of the bed going, if you don't turn this Pitocin off.
Yeah.
Can we not talk about my body like I'm not here, please, ever in life?
Women don't even know that they can have the Pitocin turned down, because the doctors are going to be insistent. Sorry for cutting you off here.
No, it's just so
and my
much.
client was like, she said, I want to sleep. I said, the Pitocin was at 11 milliunits. She goes, I want to sleep. I said, well, I said, what do you want? She goes, I want to sleep. I said, okay. I said, how much Pitocin are you on? She said, 11. She said, I don't want her to go up. I said, so what can you do? I don't want her to take it up. I said, what can you do? I was not spoon feeding her the answer. I said, what can you do? She said, I don't want her to go up on Pitocin. I said, well, she said, can I tell her that? I go, yeah. She finally got it after 3 tries. I'm like, ask for what you want. I was trying to get her and she found her voice. And she said, I want to sleep. I can take it down, 2 milliunits and I want to sleep. And then, because she knew she could handle it at that point. Oh, and I want to make a very important point right here. Moms who may be induced, because when you're birthing in the hospital, they want you going past 42 weeks. And depending on your doctor, if your doctor is progressive, he may have more leniency or she may have more leniency and go 41 and 6.
Yeah.
If you get induced, oh God, where did the thought go? Lord, here comes a moment. Where'd it go? Come back, thought.
Well, to that point, yes, go.
You can have a vaginal birth on Pitocin without an epidural. I do it all the time.
It's possible. It hurts.
I do. Let me just say this. Yeah. I do it all the time with my clients because the first time mother doesn't know what it feels like. And so what's happening is she's running the story of what Pitocin feels like from other people she's heard, but she doesn't even know. She doesn't know the difference. She doesn't know. And I've seen them do it. I've had quite a few last year. I've had them do it this year. Okay.
The other thing that I would say is if you have a very long labor. And sometimes you do need support because you have a long and painful labor and you need your energy to push so you don't have a C-section.
Yeah.
Then you might need an epidural, which is not what you want it, to rest and have energy to push.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And so if the goal is a vaginal birth, know that you haven't failed to get an epidural, to rest, to eat, and have the strength you need to push out your baby.
Yes.
And the other thing is you can turn down your epidural. And so me, with the obsession with the pelvic floor and teaching, like using the transverse abdominals to help you push and relaxing the pelvic floor so you don't tear and all of that, it's really helpful when you can feel your muscles working, so you can turn the epidural off. The ring of fire is real. Trust me. I was screaming, can you just pour some water on it? And they would give it in my mouth. I was like, no, on my vagina, please, because this stretching is hot as hell. But yes, you can feel, and it helps you understand how to relax and release your pelvic floor. That's like a whole nother thing we could talk about, Angela, about really understanding the pelvic floor. Here's the other thing. How do you know how to push if you don't know how to relax your pelvic floor? If you don't know what your transverse abdominals are, a doctor just pushing on someone's like freaking vagina, like push right here. I'm like, you want somebody pushing on your vagina like that?
Right.
Like, what the hell? You know, and that's not the first time you should even understand what those muscles are, where they live. And again, if a lot of women have medicated births, so they can't feel what they're doing. So that's like a whole nother conversation. And I know we touched on a lot.
Yes.
But number one,
that was the fastest hour ever.
I know. I think the easiest way to everyone get a doula, done. And know that birth is not open heart surgery, right?
Yeah.
You are you're not sick. So you don't need to go in and be under the care of someone. You are the mother. You are the center. You don't need to like go to the doctor to have them help fix you and put you back together. You're not broken. They're there to support and empower you and your baby.
And on that note, if you do choose OB care, I think everybody should choose a midwife, get a midwife. I'm a student midwife, but if you do choose an OB, because that's the only option that you have, make them give you information, because I can't tell you how many times I had just recently, 2 days ago, I was at a hospital birth as a doula, and I kept telling my client, I said, can you please ask your OB what position the baby is in? I need to know if your baby is posterior. She comes back like, they said the baby's head's down. I said, that means nothing. Head down
Nothing
is not the only qualification for a smooth labor and birth.
Yeah,
because posterior, it's not impossible. For some people it is, but it's very challenging. It is not an ideal position. I need to know. And they're just like, oh yeah, the baby's. Please ask information. It is your body, your baby. It is your birth. You want to know the numbers, make them explain stuff to you. And the other thing, we've talked about D cells a lot. Just a quick tidbit. It is normal and natural for babies to have D cells and A cells, decelerations and accelerations. That is indicative of a healthy heart rate. There is just, we don't want it to dip too low. We don't want it to go too high. So if they're talking about A cells and D cells, you got to ask, what do you mean by that? Tell me the numbers, because just A cells and D cells doesn't mean anything. And just D cells doesn't mean anything bad either necessarily. Is it 120s or is it 50s, 60s?
That's a different thing.
That's a different type of D cell. If your baby's heart rate is dropping to the 50s and 60s, okay, yes, so we've got a fucking problem. If your baby's heart rate is dropping down to the 120s and then recovering after the contraction is over and going back to 130s and 140s, then we're good. That's cool. And we want you to focus on breathing and relaxing and doing all the things, because you have to understand your baby's head is being squeezed in there in a tight space.
Right. That's always what I understood. So, I'm like, can you breathe if a big old man squeezes you to death? No. So my baby is a little like, during a contraction. That's the way I look at it. And when, they holding their breath a little bit, and then they cool after the contraction is over.
Right. And that's normal. The other thing I would say is, and doctors won't tell you this, you get the Pitocin, you get induced, and what do they say a few hours later? Oh, your baby's heart rate is not responding well. Well, Pitocin is a drug. and you just drugged up your baby with Pitocin. So some babies handle drugs beautifully, and other babies are going to react real fucking crazy to drugs. And an epidural, you got an epidural, which yes, it can be helpful, but an epidural, just for an epidural, you know, epidurals have fentanyl in it, and it's going to your baby. So you're giving an unborn baby fentanyl, and their heart rate is going all over the place.
And the craziest thing about this, not to scare people, but from anesthesiologist to anesthesiologist, that concoction is different. Yes. Did y'all know that?
Yes, it is. It is.
I was like,
one of the reasons they give in when the epidural, they have to give that the 1,000 milliliters of IV fluid so the heart rate doesn't go down, because epidural is an analgesic and it will decrease the heart rate of mom and baby. This is why they give the extra fluid. So I want to. Oh God, what was I going to say? So many things. You're right.
I know. Sorry.
We'll have to do a part two. We're gonna have to do a part two because I don't want to keep people too long so they come back. But I do want to say this: as you can see, there is so much information and so much to consider, and so many. The brain, the heart, the spirit, your body, like everything is a part of being pregnant and giving birth. And so I just want to say to people, don't wait until you get pregnant to start thinking about this stuff and looking into stuff. Like, start now. If you think you might want to have a baby at any point, it's never too soon to start learning things and talking to people and researching things in your city. And you know what I mean? So that when the time comes, because when it happens, it's a mountain of things to do, you know, and get ready for it. Start now.
Yes, Angela. And I will say this, find yourselves a childbirth education class that's outside of the hospital setting. Yes, if you're able to do that. I happen to teach hypnobabies, but there are tons of courses out there. Find the one that resonates with you. I happen to love this course after years of teaching with, you know, and working with moms.
I'll give it right back.
Courses. This is the one that I felt that worked better for myself and also for my clients. But everyone needs to find what they need to. Okay. Get a good childbirth education. Do the inner work. You ladies are just like, wow.
And just you guys, I'm sure everybody.
And I wasn't even drinking, y'all. That was all water.
Yeah, you got, like, honestly, I can't speak for Rachel and Angela, but I'm sure they echo the sentiments. Please message us. If I'm in LA, I think one person's in the OC. Like, please, we are a resource. Obviously, we're going to charge for our time. However, we will provide resources. We're not just going to be like, no, let me charge you $1 million to give you advice. We care about this work, obviously, and we want you to get the information and resources that you need. So please, if you join the call late, if you feel lost, if something,
slide into my DMs anytime.
Please,
Chris, but you can't slide. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, we're gonna charge you if you want to hire us, but we'll give you information.
And on that note, thank you, ladies. Thank you,
thank
Angela.
you.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Anya.
We finished already?
Yes.
We're gonna have to come back and do a part two.
And nice to meet you, ladies. See, I never.
Nice to meet you.
We all know Angela, but.
I'm like, let me come up to the OC and see you, Angela.
Yeah, come on down to the OC and come see me. Come see me.
All right, I love y'all. So
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you, audience. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Log off. I'm waiting for Angela to log off. I don't know what I'm doing.